most beautiful places on the entire planet.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming, even though it's so early, and I know a lot of people are sleeping in because COP has been so active and energy-consuming. But we're so happy to see you, to invite you to our Future Blue panel. And what we're really focusing on today is not just hope, not just climate justice, not just activism, although it is all those things, but also solutions. And what we want to do today is highlight the work of incredible individuals out there who are investing their time, their effort, their lives into innovating solutions that can be applied to coral reef islands battling climate change. There are thousands of coral reef islands across the global tropics, supporting the lives of 1 billion people, 25% of all marine species. And yet these islands are really at the front lines of climate change. They are already battling rising seas, low levels of fresh water, wildfires, energy crisis, corals that are dying, and fish that are escaping the warming waters and moving out further out to sea. So we've pulled together voices from those islands, innovators of solutions for these islands battling climate change, and investors who are going to tell us what the funding opportunities are for supporting these science and engineering solutions. I'm going to ask Evii Tong from Kiribati, who is also a research assistant in my laboratory with a goal to return to Kiribati one day to set up his own marine research station, to introduce our first speaker. Thank you. Can we get the next slide changed? Oh, there we go. Okay. It's actually the up button, not the down button. Okay, there we go.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ann. At first, we got Ms. Toreka from Coastal Fisheries, Director from Coastal Fisheries Division, Ministry of Fisheries, Marine Resource Development from Kiribati.
Facilitators, fellow speakers, ladies and gentlemen, I bring you all warm greetings from Kiribati, Kamnameauri. On behalf of my minister and the government of Kiribati, I wish to firstly convey a heartfelt gratitude to the organizers for giving us the opportunity to participate in this important event entitled The Future Blue, Innovation for the Future of Coral Reef Islands. As you are very well acquainted with my country, Kiribati is a very small island and very fortunate to have a vast marine space space that houses a variety of marine ecosystems. This is a 3.5 million square kilometer of the economic exclusive zone, which asserts that Kiribati, along with other Pacific small island countries, are indeed large ocean states. This ocean bounty also one that has been the sole foundation of economy and livelihood in Kiribati and other Pacific island states. However, Kiribati and our neighboring PCs are among the vulnerable countries in the climate crisis. We are the front lines in terms of climate change impacts, living and battling with sea level rise, eroding coastlines, water shortages, and warming seas, killing some of the coral reef where livelihood and economies are dependent on it. Our ocean regulates our climate system and mitigates climate change through sequestration of carbon dioxide emitted into the atmosphere. This research now affirms that our large ocean also contains some of the super reefs, those structures that are resilient to climate change. And thanks to Anne with the colleagues in doing this research in our country. This new finding brings us hope, a sense of hope for the future of our people. Therefore, the protection, restoration, replication, and deployment of these super reefs in Kiribati and other vulnerable sites is another way or another innovative solution to guarantee the resilience of our islands and our existence from the courageous threats of the climate change. Again, on behalf of the government of Kiribati, allow me to convey our thanks to your collaborative research expedition that has led to this invention. We certainly look forward for a more promising cooperative research in the future. Thank you all for your attention.
Thank you so much, our first speaker. We're going to hold the questions until the end of the session. The questions and discussion, we're going to have plenty of time for that. And in the meantime, I'm going to introduce our second speaker, Evii Tong, who is going to bring you direct evidence from Kiribati of the resilience not only of the Kiribati people, but also the coral reefs to climate change. Thank you, Evii.
Yeah. Which one? Okay. Good morning, everyone. Before I like to start, I would like to say Kandapen Melody, which means in my native language, I bless each and every one of you. My name is Evii Tong. I'm from an ocean state called the Republic of Kiribati. And my home consists of 33 atoll islands that beautifully scattered across the heart of the Central Pacific, as you can see right here, from east to west. And the bigger image you're seeing right here is our capital island called Tarawa. And as you can see, it's a very small island and a beautiful island, even though, however, our beauty remains our vulnerability to climate change. Each island stands just 2 meters above sea level, which rendered us to the impacts of climate change. I was just back home a few weeks ago, helping my granddad building and reconstructing our seawall, because Kiribati has been experiencing extreme weather conditions like strong winds, rising sea levels, which led to flooding, severe floodings, and contamination of freshwater lands, destruction of seawalls, and also, tragically, some residents in our home island has to leave their house and relocate somewhere else. And how do I play this? How do I play? Oh, here's just a video of just to show you what we have been facing on for decades right now. As you can see in the video, some residents are fighting to hold their home as strong waves are coming in. They're holding the house not to collapse, as you can see. And this is something that's very emotional sometimes for me. I mean, every time that I look at it, because that's my fellow Ikiribas people. And yeah, sorry about that. It's just, but yeah, this is what we have to face every day in Kiribati. And I had the opportunity to join the National Geographic Pristine Seas to the Southern Line Islands, which is also part of Kiribati. And our goal was to document and observe the resilience in the Southern Line Islands. These are one of the islands that are protected. As you can see, it's full of corals, full of fish. It's a very vibrant marine ecosystem. And this is what we should be seeing all around the world. But due to climate change, the trends of coral reef is declining. This is also a reminder to us to be more cautious of what we've been doing and to address more climate change and solutions. Unfortunately, the Southern Line Islands wasn't enjoying such a resilience. As you can see here, in 2016, there was an unprecedented heat wave that occurred across the Central Pacific. And this is what it looks like. Indeed, it is a very painful sight to see, especially coming and growing up from the Atoll Islands, and most of your resources is depending on the coral reefs, fish, and yeah, it's just very emotional. And again, it's a reminder to us that climate change is not something we're facing in the future, but for us, as the frontliners of climate change, it's something we are facing, and we should do something about it. And it would be great to have a support from developing countries that actually have the right tools and equipments to address this, and not the other way around where. I did my research on the Southern Line Islands, and I used a technique called coral coring, and that's because coral skeletons tells the story of the environmental changes in the marine ecosystem. As you can see in the first picture, the first picture is a picture of me doing the coring, and the second picture is extracting the coral samples. And the third is actually the same core, but it's under the CT scanned. And this CT image gives us a lot of details of what's been happening on the marine ecosystem. So apparently, this is how the corals is speaking to us and what it's been recording in the data we've been analyzing. Here's one example of one of the cores from the Southern Line Islands. And here is basically telling us what it's been experiencing throughout the years for the last 9 years. As you can see on the vertical axis, that's the coral growth. And on the vertical is the time. And what you're seeing here is actually the life history of one of the cores in the Southern Line Islands. As I mentioned, in 2016, there was an unprecedented heat wave, which there's a decline in growth rate. And the cores actually tells us the process of the health, the bleach, the death, and the recovery, as you can see. And what's so special about the corals in the Southern Line Islands is their capacity to be resilient against climate change. As you can see, only 2.5 years, already the corals are back to their normal growth rate, which tells us that we have something very special in our waters, in our marine ecosystem, and we should protect them. My narrative of my whole presentation and what I'm trying to picture to you guys is that even though we are the frontliners of climate change, we're still resilient to these impacts. And it's not just us as humans, but our coral reef is also, we're related to these. And basically what the coral reefs is resisting, and we have the strength by them, and that is why we're resisting. And we're not sinking or anything, but we are fighting for our future. And yeah, it's just, thank you.
Thank you so much, Evie. That was really from the heart. I could see his emotion. Evie actually just went home to Kiribati for a few weeks to help his family to rebuild a seawall in front of their home that had collapsed during one of the now many, many king tides that, as you saw, just flooding the homes. But Evie came with a message of resilience and hope, and also a message of the gift to humanity that Kiribati has given us by protecting these magnificent southern line island coral reef ecosystems. I want to introduce our next guest, Dr. Alex Berkowitz, who is going to share with us her amazing efforts to innovate solutions for coastal communities, and we're hoping to coax her into the coral reef world to help the coral reef communities there too. Thank you so much, Alex, for joining us today. So, it is this button right there.
Okay, great.
Okay, see that one there? This one? It's, the second one up. Second one up. See, that's, I think that might be the pointer. Okay, second one. All right. Thank you so much.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm thrilled to be here. I'm actually not a doctor,
That's okay.
but I play one on TV. So again, my name is Alex Berkowitz, and I'm the founder and CEO of Coastal Protection Solutions. In 2012, my hometown of Rockaway Beach, New York, was devastated by Hurricane Sandy. My hometown is a tight community, with kids riding bicycles in the street and older folks gossiping while walking their dogs. What a great place to grow up. But the day after the hurricane hit, everything, including the faces of my neighbors, turned gray. We were all facing the sobering reality and uncertainty of the future of our lives with this climate change disaster. For instance, will we need to rebuild our homes all the time now due to major storms? This photo was taken 2 blocks from my house on a beach that I once used to build sandcastles on as a kid. So standing on that beach, and it was 2 days after the hurricane hit, I vowed to dedicate myself to protecting coastal communities like mine, because my story is a global story. At that moment, I had an idea while standing on the beach. If I could design a structure that would decrease the height and velocity of waves, these homes would have stood. Great. Destruction like this is happening on land and also happening in our ocean communities. As you know, coral reefs are communities of organisms that in many ways function similarly to a human community. I want to show you these 3 images because I found that the damage even looks remarkably similar to hurricanes, because the coral reefs on the right side in the blue photo, my neighborhood in the center, and the Philippines on the left, all after hurricanes. And they look remarkably similar. So I started to think, can we use the same technology I was developing to protect life in coastal communities and coral reefs. So what did I do? I needed to find a way to prevent destruction above and below water from climate-induced storms. I traveled the world looking for solutions and went to study at the Harvard University Graduate School of Design to finalize the invention. And folks, there is hope for coastal communities and coral reefs. It's called the wave breaker. The wave breaker is a patent-pending 100-meter, or 300-foot if you're in the US, composite steel wave speed bump that decreases the height and velocity of waves to mitigate damage to life and property on shore, and it also protects coral reefs. So how does it work? The wave hits the wave breaker, which is the structure. The structure bears the brunt force of the wave, and the structure begins to roll, as you can see. The wave dissipates as it rolls over the grooves. And guess what? This applies to coral reefs. In addition to protecting the human communities, the wave breaker can protect coral communities by taking the brunt of the wave action and amplitude, greatly reducing destruction underwater, allowing for easier coral regeneration. It allows for easy sediment transport, which is critical for coral reefs for their health and nutrient transfer. When you pair the wave breaker, and this is really exciting, with coral reefs, what you get is a super multi-layered storm defense system that simultaneously protects coral reefs and coastal communities. This will save the coral reefs that are alive and allow them to regenerate. So this is backed by science, including my team of engineers and coastal scientists who are quantifying the effects of the wave breaker on near-field circulation, among other requirements. The wave breaker is easier for decision makers to implement because it's affordable at $150,000 US, including installation, versus multi-millions and sometimes billions for other defenses like concrete walls. It's movable. As I was speaking with you earlier, that it can be moved. So if the currents change from global warming, or storms look like they'll hit in a different direction, or surfers want to go out and surf that season, it could be moved to maximize effectiveness. And it protects both humans and corals at the same time. It's ecological and promotes marine life. It decreases erosion, and it's scalable and easy to manufacture and can be deployed in a matter of days, not years. Speed, affordability, agility, multi-protective, and ecological. This is what the wave breaker can offer. Up until now, there have been few solutions to protect coral reefs, and similarly, there have been no financial or structurally viable solutions for my community. In fact, my community was offered a tall concrete wall, but they said no because it would make them feel like they were in a jail. And who knows if it would hold. Massive infrastructure takes years to build and costs billions of dollars. It also doesn't work for coral reefs who are inside the wall. Let's just take a moment here to talk about costs and benefits for some of the countries that are in the room. So getting financing for the scale of protection we need is challenging. This is true for both human communities and even more so for coral reefs. So here's a world slide comparing the large percentage of communities living near coral reefs are lower income communities that rely on tourism and fishing for a living. When I developed the wave breaker, I vowed that it would be equitable and just. The wave breaker will allow communities to protect their land, livelihoods, and coral reefs in an affordable way. The decision makers who decide to put one are often looking at 5 criteria. Cost. We have established that it's affordable. Does it work? We're also going to be using sensors to monitor storms and position the wave breaker accurately. Speed of deployment, it can be deployed in 2 weeks. Community acceptance, it's not intrusive and can be moved, doesn't disrupt livelihoods, and it does not get in the way of fishing because it's near shore and it doesn't detract from tourism, the tourism industry. I'm almost done, don't worry.
I'm not worried. This is wonderful.
And what's also exciting is that the wave breaker is productive when it's not used during storms, because we are working on generating wave energy so that we can supply clean energy to coastal communities. Let me tell you a little bit about what's ahead. We're currently doing 3 rounds of testing: computational fluid dynamic testing, testing in a wave flume, which is a wave lab, and then deploying a 33-meter off the coast. And we're looking for partners for this. Like my community, coral reefs are threatened by climate change, but are resilient. If you believe that every community, whether on land or below water, has a right to survive, if you agree that the way we've been doing things isn't going to work anymore in our future, if you're excited about the great potential for technology helping the planet, if you are grappling with these same issues for your corals or communities and have ideas, come talk to me. Thank you. And you can reach me up there.
And you'll be hanging out after the session
Yes,
too, right?
absolutely.
Awesome. That was fantastic. Thank you so much, Alex. I love your statement about if you believe that communities above and below the water deserve to live. Thank you. Our next speaker, I'm so pleased to present Dr. Julie Pullen from Propeller Ventures, and she's going to tell us a little bit about what Propeller is doing to finance innovative solutions under climate change. Thank you so much, Julie.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here. I wanted to share a little bit about my background that got me to the place where I'm helping seek and facilitate and scale climate solutions. So I'm an Earth system scientist. I spent a whole career as an academic building models of how the ocean and atmosphere communicate with each other, all the ways that the ocean and the atmosphere whisper to each other or roar to each other, and simulating all of the complexities of these realms of the Earth system. I was also engaged in building large field campaigns to sample at higher resolution the ocean and atmosphere and incorporate observations that really challenge the models to do better. And in this capacity, as an academic, a few years ago, I was a Fulbright visiting professor in the Philippines on sabbatical. And there I was teaching graduate tropical meteorology to students at the University of the Philippines, who I discovered were increasingly distressed by the climate impacts their nation was experiencing. At the same time, I dove the beautiful coral reefs of the Philippines at the heart of the Coral Triangle nearly every weekend with my colleagues at the University of the Philippines. I learned about the approaches that they were using to restore the coral reefs, as well as the incessant bouts of deoxygenation, marine heat waves, which, get this, 15 years ago when I was a co-lead of the Ocean Sciences meeting, we didn't even have sessions on marine heat waves. We didn't have that category. It didn't even exist. And here the Philippines are getting roiled by marine heat waves and the impacts it was having on the coral reefs as these faculty and students relentlessly set forth to restore the coral reefs. It all had an impact on me, as well as my experience of tending a field site in the north of Luzon, where the coastal ocean met the river systems that drained the mountains, that was increasingly experiencing inundation from super typhoons growing in magnitude by the year. I left academia when I came back from the Philippines to help lead a startup in the climate risk space. It was a new category then for startups in climate tech. And we developed capabilities and tools for disseminating information about the droughts, heat waves, floods that very, very local areas are experiencing and would be experiencing in the future. But what struck me about that work is that we face unsustainable losses, and we face them because we live in a connected Earth system where some of the most rapid changes are happening in these vital areas. And in fact, as a person who started my career in nonlinear dynamics and complex systems, I did a master's in applied math before I moved into oceanography and meteorology. The complexity of the Earth system and the potential for these dramatic state shifts in the Earth system is really upon us. And those near-term state shifts or tipping points are all localized in our oceans. These are coral loss, these are the polar ice loss, and these are the circulation shifts that attend those changes and the overturning circulation both in the North Atlantic and Southern Ocean. And as someone who lost their husband a few years ago, I came to understand through the heartache that when you lose something that you love, in retrospect, you realize you would have done anything not to suffer that loss. And I feel the same about these really vital parts of our Earth system, the coral reefs, the polar ice, and the overturning circulation. And I vowed to do more so that we did not collectively sustain these losses. So this propelled me into climate solutions. I came together with a team to set up a brand new venture capital fund focused on ocean climate solutions. We have a founding partnership with Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, some of whom you've seen represented throughout the Ocean Pavilion, and Woods Hole was indeed the original partner along with Scripps in setting up the first Ocean Pavilion as well as this one. I also have now forged partnerships with other ocean science institutions as we look to cast the net quite wide in terms of where solutions can come from. And one of the things that venture capital is great at is expanding the portfolio of solutions, seeing how they advance and whether they can scale and whether they're safe and effective, and then being able to surge more capital into ones that have those attributes. What we've heard about is solutions today that can restore and regenerate coral reefs. I'd like to share a few more that I've been seeing out in the space, and we can continue the conversation during the panel discussion. So some of the ones that I've seen in research settings as well as in startup settings are ways to plant coral reefs, so automated or robot-driven approaches like ReefGen to go out and restore coral reefs, which obviously have benefits on an economic level to tourism, as well as the capacity to maintain and restore these refugia that incubate, as we heard, 25% of the species on the planet, as well as the species of humans who rely on the coral reefs for livelihood, billions of people. Other approaches that I've seen is looking at enhancing the resilience through genetic diversity. There are teams scattered throughout the world. One of them is at the Hawaii Institute of Marine Biology working on genetic resilient coral. There's a company you all may be familiar with, Coral Vita, also working on resilient coral embedded in structures that can really help serve the sustaining purpose. I'll stop there in the interest of time, and we can share more on the solutions space during this discussion. So thank you again.
Thank you so much, Julie. What is surprising me more and more in the session is how passionate people are about what they're doing, and they're bringing that emotion to this podium, and it's just a wonderful thing to see. We're all in this together. I want to introduce a wonderful young lady, Nikki Littlefield. From Hawaii. She's just 16 years old. She's already done so much with her life, including contributing to the sustainability of the ocean. And so I want to give her the floor for 2 minutes, and she's also going to introduce the speaker following her.
Thank you so much, Anne. So we are gathered here together because we all share a dream to heal the ocean and our Mother Earth. Hello, everybody. My name is Nikki, and Hawaii is my home, as Anne said, and the ocean is my life and my passion. I spend every free-breathing moment I have dedicated to the ocean, either protecting it or enjoying it. At 16, I feel the urgency to repair the damages that we have done to our coral reefs, our ocean, and our planet. At 14, when I was in 8th grade, I created a project where I installed water filling stations around islands in public schools so students could have access to water to therefore reduce plastic consumption around the island. And Hawaii has no recycling, so I kind of spearheaded this plastic project, and I feel that installing water stations would be the biggest impact. So our future choices are what we can control, and I believe that our youth is the future, and that we must support our Generation Z ocean innovators, who are our planet's hope. And I'm doing my part in keeping plastic water bottles out of the ocean by, providing water for my peers. And I think that everybody has an impact. Every drop in the ocean is important. And I think that hope leads to action, hope and passion. And as some people think we're losing it, I think, in fact, it's flourishing, especially in our generation. And I think that with all of our dreams, all of our hopes, that we can create many, many solutions, and our future is super bright. So someone that I think is doing a great job in protecting our climate and protecting our oceans. She's from Brazil, and which is one of my favorite scuba diving spots in the world, super beautiful. And it's right next to my motherland, Guatemala, where my mother's from. And it's my pleasure to introduce Monique Vervon, who is a coral reef practitioner and a director with Fragments of Hope in Belize. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Nikki, for that, and good morning, everyone. So thank you for that lovely introduction. In case you didn't catch that, my name is Monique Vernon. I am a coral practitioner from Belize, and today I'll be presenting on the theme Rebuilding Reefs at Laughing Bird Key National Park in Belize on behalf of Fragments of Hope. So, here we go. This is the title. So, Fragments of Hope basically started their coral restoration work in Belize, specifically at Laughing Bird Key back in 2006 after a Category 4 Hurricane Iris struck the southern portion of Belize, devastating majority of the corals in that area. At Laughing Bird Key in particular, the coral cover was left to about less than 6%. And so since then, Fragments of Hope has started working at Laughing Bird Key to restore those corals. And as you can see in the image on your left, they have expanded across Belize. one of the major things that they started doing is mapping the live living corals, and they started monitoring their survival rate, their growth, and thermal tolerance, in addition to looking at fish and other benthic changes that occurs while they're actually planting these acroporid corals. Although we have numbers up here, we don't necessarily like to focus on the numbers because I would actually like to invite you to come to Belize and see it for yourselves, because the nature of these corals, they fragment, they asexually reproduce. And so even though we've planned out these number of corals, there's way more than that. And I will show you in a bit what I mean by that. One of the major things that we started focusing on is genetic diversity. We know the importance of that, and that's major for our the work that we do. We focus on 3 specific acroporids: the palmata, the cervicornis, and the prolifera. And these are the different numbers of genets that we're working with. So I keep messing this up. It's the bottom, yeah. So, like I mentioned, we don't necessarily focus on the number of coral that we actually outplant. Because of their nature, right? So we started focusing on different methods that we can represent these corals. So we started looking at taking drone image from above and using QGIS or ArcGIS to show those images. So the colors that you're seeing are representing corals that we've restored at Laughing Bird Key National Park. In addition to that, we started using photo mosaics, diver-based photo mosaics, to illustrate those numbers, and specifically on plots that are 50 to 200 meters square. So this is a video. How do I play the video? No, it's not working. No. Okay, so this is what the diver-based mosaic looks like, and basically it's showing coral cover from 2014 to 2021, where we started off with nothing, basically rubbles, and we're rebuilding that reef. So this is what the reefs. This is from 2021. That's the most recent data we have. But again, it's just to show that you can rebuild reefs. We call it rubbles to reefs, right? And on this other slide, again, another important thing, looking at genetic diversity. These are the same corals, but again, the one on the left is showing, this is a coral from back in 2011, and the one on the right is from 2023. One is showing corals that are more branchy, more flowery, and the other is bleaching more than the other. Again, the same coral, but again, 2 different genets that we're working with, right? So genetic diversity is very important. And just as genetic diversity is important, so are the people. People are very important, especially in work that affects their daily livelihood. In Belize, a large number of people depend on tourism and fisheries for food and a number of different things. And Fragments of Hope has been working with a number of these local communities to show them that by contributing and feeling, having a sense of responsibility and ownership within this project, they're able to see the incentives that they will then later on benefit from by restoring these corals. And so the lesson learned that we've noticed over the years, again, more diversity is always better. Another thing with acroporids is that the elkhorn corals, you could always plant them close to each other, and they will thrive. The elkhorn corals, on the other hand, planting them too close disrupt their growth. So for our site in particular, this is what we've found. So, so planting them separately or in a good distance is always a good thing with apial species. And very important here, do not remove corals that are 99, or do not remove corals from nurseries that seem like they're, unless they're 100% dead. Because we've noticed that we've seen some corals that are like 99% bleached, and just a slither of life is left in them. And within a couple months or so, the entire colony is back to life, right? So that just goes to show the resilience in these corals. And one of the major things with Fragments of Hope is that they focus on restoring corals in the shoreline area. But we've started to do restoration a little bit deeper, because when we have storms, oftentimes these storms come with branches and different large obstacles that would break the corals. And by planting it a little bit deeper, it gives it room to spread and grow more. Additionally, the light intensity is not as great as is on the shore. And so, yeah, that's it. Thank you so much. And if you have any questions, I'll be around. Thank you.
Before Nikki introduces the next speaker, I just want to tell you that I've been to Fragments of Hope. I have never seen a success story in coral restoration anywhere in the world. Bahamas, Hawaii, I've never seen anything like Fragments of Hope. It is like coral reefs were 100 years ago. And it's from the dedicated efforts of these folks learning along the way, and we want to learn from you. So thank you. Back to you, Nikki.
Okay, so our next speaker is Professor Mauricio Queiroz from Brazil. He is a theoretical and experimental physicist, teacher, researcher, inventor, scuba diver, and 3D modeler and prototyper. He is the co-founder and CEO of Tidal Watt, a blue energy provider. His company has created a new generation of underwater turbines that makes free energy from the movement of the ocean. I give you Professor Queiroz.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Mauricio, a physicist from Brazil and inventor dedicated to harnessing the power of our oceans. Today, I'm proud to introduce to you a groundbreaking concept in renewable energy generation that I call Tidal Watt. This innovation is rooted in a fresh scientific understanding, poised to bring ocean energy into a spotlight and a beacon of illumination of our world. Nature on our incredible planet operates with invisible forces that shape everything around us. One of these forces, known as field forces, is present in every molecule that exists on Earth. These forces can generate movement, and this movement, in turn, can create dynamic interactions among the molecules, resulting in extraordinary natural phenomena. Let's take a closer look at how Tidal Watt harnesses these natural phenomena to light up our lives.
Here is a very special combination. 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom form a substance that is rare in our solar system and essential for life: water. In its liquid state, water moves under the influence of these field forces, creating dynamic and powerful patterns known as ocean currents. These currents are not just random movements of water. They are the manifestation of the energy of field forces acting on an incalculable number of water molecules simultaneously. This energy, present in our oceans, is an immeasurable and continuous source of strength, potentially the most abundant renewable energy source available at any time of the day, capable of providing clean energy for the entire planet. Our innovative submarine turbine is designed not just to capture this formidable energy from the ocean currents but also to harmonize with the marine environment. Unlike conventional turbines, which focus only on the phenomenon of surface forces, our technology harnesses the energy of the entire volume of water influenced by the phenomenon of field forces, which has immense energetic potential. Furthermore, the safety and well-being of marine life were a priority in the design of the blades. Its mechanism is entirely harmless to fish and other marine organisms, avoiding the risk of damage or injury. Additionally, its anchoring structures are expected to promote the formation of artificial reefs, offering a new habitat and promoting marine biodiversity. Thus, our technology not only has the
the video is closed. In assessing the landscape of existing technologies, our innovative concept leverages an incredible additional force. A type of force in fluid mechanics. Our technology designs, however, operates under the same forces, and since it also engages with greater forces associated with the immense volume upstream of the turbine position. This is the power of the field force at play. Notice how our turbines blades not have an angle attack because they are aligned with the current. This feature, combined with the low rotation speed, poses zero threat to marine's life. It's a harmonious blend of high efficiency and environmental mindfulness. Turning to the vast potential of our electricity generation technology, it's crucial to understand the economic implications because our method harnesses the relentless and unstoppable force of the sea, providing energy around the clock. We are looking at a paradigm where energy can be marketed at highly accessible prices. The costs associated with the high efficiency of our energy generation are not just low. They are strategically advantageous, safe, and reliable. The ocean's power is ceaseless, ensuring a constant supply of energy. Furthermore, investment in plants utilizing this technology are significantly lower compared to conventional technologies, regardless of the energy source. This is not merely an incremental improvement, but a transformative step toward making sustainable energy economically feasible on global scale. It's time we stop thinking renewable energy as alternative sources. They should be and indeed must become the primary sources of energy on our planet, if not the only ones. Oil and gas and coal still have many applications. We just need to cease burning them. We are here to be part of the solution, not to cast blame. After all, this is our world, which, as you have seen, have been incredibly kind and generous to us. It is our duty to reciprocate that kindness. You can count with us as we count on you. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Mauricio. The reason I invited Mauricio to give a presentation here is because we've been building models, physics models for coral reef ecosystems. And we realized that many coral reef ecosystems are basically little energy houses. Reef power is what we call them, because there are currents flowing through those channels of 2.5 meters a second that is more than enough to run these turbines. And yet, people across coral reef islands, across the global tropics, are paying $8 to $10 a gallon for gasoline. And they are sitting on ocean energy. So let's pull that together. Let's pull the technology in with the need and get these things done. Thank you so much, Mauricio. I want to introduce wonderful Bodhi Patil, who's going to close out our session. Thank you.
First of all, give me a show of hands who loves coral reefs. All right, I want to see everyone's hand raised. That's right. So when we think of the future of our ocean, we think of healthy and abundant coral reefs. And that's, of course, led by the next generation of coral innovators. When we look to all these interconnected solutions, especially ones that holistically help to heal corals, like Fragments of Hope, there's much more than coral restoration that's in store. We have to look to combating pollution sources upstream, mitigating plastic waste from entering the marine environment, combating toxic chemical and leachate, stopping oil and gas extractive industry and offshore drilling from damaging our reefs. When we speak about the ocean and the importance of the ocean on Ocean Day, this historic day here at COP, it's so important for us to all continue to be ocean advocates and champions of reef ecosystems. Coral thermal resilience and the work that the Cohen Lab is doing with Evii and all the incredible PhD candidates is really inspiring. And that's why I'm really excited to continue to learn more and grow into that field of science, and most importantly, in implementing affected marine protected areas so that we can effectively manage and conserve these super reefs, these thermally resilient areas that need the protection and the mitigation of plastics, of chemical leachate, of other sources of pollution, so they can thrive. Like what we were able to share and what, like Anne in Fragments of Hope said, when even if a coral is 99% bleach, or even if it's on the brink of death, it can come back to life. And I think our generation, Gen Z, is key in showing that there is hope for the future of corals. And with all of these new innovative approaches to coral restoration, the coral media that's being created, the movement to protect the health of the reef, both for our lives and livelihoods and the 3 billion people that depend on fisheries for their primary source of protein, we understand that everything is interconnected. And the role here of intergenerational collaboration, as Nikki was building on, is now more important than ever. So as we build up to the UN Oceans Conference in 2025, as we continue to focus on the coral breakthrough, which was one of the 5 key thematic ocean breakthroughs that was recently declared, let's continue to center young indigenous voices, voices of color, as central proponents to the future of coral solutions. It's really interesting when we look at who's designing coral solutions, how they're financed, and who they're affected by most. How can we empower more youth that are on the streets right now in French Polynesia and Tahiti and Moorea, on the streets of Belize, on the streets of coral reef islands and ecosystems in Kiribati and all around the world, to get out of drugs, to get out of alcohol abuse, to get out of these highly risk-tolerant areas and go towards protecting the reef. And so I'm also really excited to share that this summer I created a program called Moorea Ocean Guardians that get kids out of fighting each other on the streets, out of basically hurting each other and putting them into reef protection by creating their own locally managed rahui styles of management, which is a Polynesian-based style of fisheries closure and opening to help protect the reef, reduce pollution inflows. And when we take kids off of the reef, off of the streets and back onto the reef, we can truly create regenerative coral islands. So remember to support your local young person, remember to support your local champion, and make sure to give all those local coral solutions a fighting chance, because they are the hope for the future of coral restoration and the health of our marine ecosystems around the globe. Also, thank you to Anne and all the coral innovators in the room. It's not about competition anymore, it's about coming together to build the most resilient solutions for our future, because that is damn needed. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bodhi. I love the passion. I think we have time for maybe 1 or 2 questions. If you do have a burning question, please don't hesitate.
Thank you, everyone, for speaking today. Just a general question to anyone who wants to answer. What are some barriers to your solutions that you have? What problems are you facing? And what do you need from us to do to help you?
Why don't we have Alex and Mauricio answer that question? Brilliant question.
Thank you. Great question. We need at now in this time budget to build prototype and tests in Woods Hole. We have the great opportunity to create system of tests there, and it's so expensive that I know. Then we are looking for a sponsor or investor and is what we have great ideas here, but we need to help really to make these ideas in this real world. It's just it. I think I would like to clear. Okay.
Well said, Mauricio. I'm going to ask Alex also to share her thoughts on what the bottlenecks are.
Can you all hear me? Okay, great. I know I have a loud voice. Money is the biggest barrier to implementing, the projects that Maurizio and I are working on. That's the honest truth. But I feel that there is we're having a moment where people are realizing that there is a need for ocean technology, and so there's a lot more support. But I would also say, like to Bodhi's point, that we need community involvement, because without that, without having the support of communities, that's our projects would, in my opinion, fail, not having that. And so if we can get money and communities, then we would be off to a really incredible start.